Now it's time to talk about the scariest things in all of horror films. Romance. Hey everyone, welcome to the top 10 list. Welcome to my top 10 favorite romantic horror films. Yeah, I said in my video of my top 10 favorite scenes of horror films, I'm going to be doing a lot of Halloween themed videos all throughout the month of October, and I thought it would be an interesting video to do is my top 10 favorite romantic horror films. Yes, I've done best horror films, worst horror films. I've talked about my favorite scenes in horror films. I've ranked a lot of franchises, but you know what? There's a lot of romantic horror films out there, yes. There's still the really creepy and scary element, but there's also a romantic element to a horror film. And it's quite fascinating to me, and there's a lot of really great ones. When I really looked at the list of them, there's a lot of really solid romantic horror films. And some people might not consider some of them romantic. Really, when you really watch them and get to the roots of them, they're romantic, very deep and well, and very emotional and poetic romantic films. And yes, we're here to celebrate those films by giving my top 10 personal favorite romantic horror films. Alright, let's get to it. And before top 10 list, you gotta have your honorable mentions. And my honorable mentions are Near Dark, Underworld, Let Me In, A Chinese Ghost Story, Wolf, Bride of Chucky, and Zombie Honeymoon. All really good, enjoyable, romantic horror films. Just couldn't make the top 10 list, but did make my top 10 was my number 10. My number 10 is the great gothic Tim Burton film, Sleepy Hollow. This is a town called Sleepy Hollow. Christopher Lee, great scene as the judge, very creepy role. Awesome movie. I really love this movie. It's a Tim Burton film. I love most Tim Burton films. Most Tim Burton films. Yeah, Dark Shadows, Planet of the Apes, Alice in Wonderland. Ugh, I fucking hate those movies. Anyways, where was I? Tim Burton. Tim Burton's a great director. He's got a great vision. I love his gothic style of filmmaking. And Sleepy Hollow is a really enjoyable film. I really enjoyed this movie. And it's also a romance. It's a murder mystery. It's about Ichabod Crane investigating all these murders that are happening in the town of Sleepy Hollow. It's based off the book, based off the Disney movie, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Great Disney film. And this is just a really over-the-top, very gory, gothic horror thriller romance film. Because there's also a romance between Ichabod and Christina Ricci's character. She is the daughter of the mayor of the town, played by Michael Gambon. Yes, what's her name? Katrina. Yeah, Katrina and Ichabod have a pretty cute romance with each other, even though he's wildly way older than her, but still, it's a really cute, enjoyable romance. She goes on, the investigations with him. She's, trying to find the roots of who the killer is, and who brought the Headless Horseman, and why the Headless Horseman is killing all these certain people and everything. And you also find out, Katrina might be, a witch and stuff, and it's an interesting and very cute romance, and the film itself is really over the top, but it's got really good direction. It's got a really good style to it. Very awesome score. Another great Danny Elfman score. And yeah, I just love the film. Coming number 9 is The Mummy. Yes, I'm going to go with both versions. I'm going to go with the original 30s Mummy and also the Christopher Lee Mummy, Curse the Mummy movie. I love both these movies, and they're both great classic horror films. One's a classic black and white spooky horror film, and one of them is a Hammer horror film, which I absolutely love. I love Hammer horror films, especially the Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing ones. I love it. The 50s, 30s style filmmaking horror movies are such great films, and just such classic films, and the way the original modern filmmaking was so really cool. It feels dated, but dated feel kind of makes it timeless and just much more entertaining to watch. And both the Mummy films are both romantic films too, because Curse the Mummy has a romantic love interest, and he's doing all these bad and torturous things because he is in love and he's looking for his bride and everything. And yeah, I did a ranking of all the Mummies, so I've talked to death about these ones. So yeah, I think both these are really good classic horror films, both the original and the Hammer horror film of The Mummy. Both great classic horror films, but also romantic horror films. Coming number 8 is Warm Bodies. Yes, Warm Bodies is directed by Jonathan Levine, who did 50/50. This stars Teresa Palmer, Nicholas Hoult, Rob Corddry, John Malkovich. Really great film. This is more of a thriller, horror, comedy, romance. Mostly kind of a romantic comedy in a horror setting, because it's a zombie apocalypse movie. It's basically about a zombie named R. Yeah, it's R, played by Nicholas Hoult, and he narrates most of the film and everything. And he finds a human, and he doesn't want to feed off of her. He killed her boyfriend, though, played by Dave Franco. And he has like all his memories, because when you eat the people, you get their memories and everything. And he falls in love with Teresa Palmer, and it's a romance between a human and a zombie. And yes, it sounds corny because the power of like love is what's turning the zombies back into humans. It's cheesy, but the way the film is directed and how innocent and sweet the movie is and how very funny it is, especially Nicholas Holt's whole narration. The narration really makes it funny. And yes, don't be creepy, don't be creepy, don't be creepy, don't be creepy. Say something clever. Nailed it. Really funny lines. I love the soundtrack to this movie. I love how this movie is shot. I love Jonathan Livine's direction. I think Nicholas Hoult and Teresa Palmer both have great chemistry. I love it's just a very different, unique spin on a zombie film. And yeah, I love the romance aspect of it. And I think it's a very cute film, and I really enjoy it. Coming number 7 is The Fly. Yes, Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum. Yes. You do plan on showing us dinosaurs in your dinosaur-themed park. He plays the Fly. A man, that turns his body into a fly. He wants to build a teleporting machine and becomes a fly and starts killing people, all because he's in love with a girl. Sorry, that was a horrible Jeff Goldblum impression. Yeah. Jeff Goldblum. This movie is directed by David Cronenberg, a Canadian filmmaker. I always gotta give a thumbs up to my Canadian filmmakers. David Cronenberg directed this movie. This is a B-movie horror film that became like a classic and made sequels. Bad sequels, but a good movie that spawned bad sequels. Great movie. This is a great practical film. The practical effects are just so disgusting and disturbing. They're awesome. And it's a love story. This scientist is in love the whole film and everything. And he's a genuinely pretty good dude until he, becomes a fly, becomes a monster and a psycho and everything. But it starts off as a love story. And it is a really genuinely interesting love story, and it is a very creepy, unsettling monster film. Jeff Goldblum is awesome in this movie, and I love the practical effects, and I love David Cronenberg's direction. It's not my favorite Cronenberg film, but it's a damn good film and a good romantic horror film. Coming number 6 is the movie Spring. Yes, Spring came out in the year 2015, and this is a movie I can't say anything about because still to this day, no one talks about this movie and no one has seen this film. Anytime I mention this movie to anybody, no one has no fucking idea what I'm talking about. They have no idea what this movie is. When I say Spring, people are like, Spring Breakers? I'm like, no, not the James Franco movie. This is a romantic horror film. Basically about a guy, he meets a girl, she's not what she seems, shit gets crazy. That's all I'm gonna say. I cannot say why. I can't say why it's a horror film. I can't say why it's a romantic film. I can't say anything about it. Just please take my word that this is a genuinely amazing film. This is a great indie film, and it's so good. I can't say anything about it. It's like me talking about Blade Runner 2049. You just can't say, it's on the hush-hush. Can't say anything about this movie, but it's fantastic. Performances, it's eerie, it's creepy, it's unsettling, it's got a genuine romance, it's got beautiful cinematography, this is clever filmmaking, and this is a great indie filmmaking at its best, and it's a great film. Take my word of it. Check it out. It's a great film. Coming number 5 is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yes, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yes, most Dracula movies you can pretty much debate that they're romantic horror films, except for Horror of Dracula. That's not, the Christopher Lee ones are not the Hammer horror ones, even though I love them so much. They're not quite a romance film. Even the Bela Lugosi ones that have a hint of romance, Bram Stoker's Dracula is a straight romantic horror film. When you get to the roots of it, the romance between Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder, it is a romantic film. It is a horror film, because it's about Bram Stoker, it's about Dracula taking Keanu Reeves, taking Keanu Reeves hostage in his building and everything. Yes, those monsters out there. Keanu Reeves, not a good actor in this movie, but still. Gary Oldman is amazing. Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing, such a great film. I love this movie. This movie is not for everybody. I know there's some people that genuinely hate this film. They think this is an overrated film. They don't like it. They think it's one of the weaker Francis Ford Coppola movies. That's fine. I don't agree. I think this is a great stylistic film. The cinematography, the visuals are fantastic. I love how they portrayed the story of Dracula in this movie. It's very loyal to the source material of the book, Bram Stoker's Dracula, a book I have read. Great book. I love this movie. I think it's so great. I love the romance, too. It's a very dark and twisted romance, but I buy it. Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder have genuine chemistry. Anthony Hopkins is a badass in this movie, and the film itself is great. It's not the best Francis Ford Coppola movie, but it's a damn great film and a really good romantic horror film. Coming number 4 is Bride of Frankenstein. Bride of Frankenstein, again, solid film, solid sequel to an already great classic film. I still don't think it's better than the original 30s Frankenstein film with Boris Karloff. I think that is just a gem of a film. It is like a masterpiece of classic cinema. It is so good. Bride of Frankenstein is still a really good sequel to. Like, anytime you see the Bride of Frankenstein with the hair and everything, you know exactly what you're in for. It still has the same atmosphere, eeriness, great shots, great classic filmmaking as the original does. Boris Karloff returns as the role of the monster. Great movie. It's so good. The story's great. It's well paced. And it's also just got a really cute romance. Even though it's between two monsters, it is really genuine and it's really cool and it's really creative. And yeah, I absolutely love it. I love classic horror films, and this is one of the best classic romantic horror films. Come number 3 is Crimson Peak. Yes, beware of Crimson Peak. Okay, let's get to it. People disagreed with me when I reviewed it years and years ago in 2015, back in the day of 2015, a whole 2 years ago. I loved this movie. People bashed it and hated on it because people were going to this movie expecting this like big, grand horror film because it was Guillermo del Toro, and the marketing for this movie was completely wrong. And people are expecting this big horror film directed by Guillermo del Toro, and then they got a romantic film with horror elements. And people were just disappointed by the film, and I wasn't. I really loved this movie. I loved that this was just a straight gothic romance, and a gothic romance is a romance with horror elements. That's what a gothic romance is. And it's basically about a girl who meets this guy, and him and his sister, sort of spoilers, but it's been out for years, so either you've seen it or you haven't. It's basically about this brother and sister. They take in women, and basically he marries them, takes their money, and basically the two of them kill the women and everything. Basically to get his machine running so he can make this clay and everything, but he genuinely falls in love with the main girl, played by Mia Wasikowska. Yes, Tom Hiddleston is in it, but Jessica Chastain, Jim Beaver, Charlie Hunnam, and all that stuff, and it becomes a very genuine, good romance, a twisted romance, but a good romance, but also it is a ghost story. But like the movie itself says, it's not a straight ghost story. The ghosts are a metaphor for the past. And they are a past of Tom Hiddleston's past, her past because she's the ghost of her mother, warning her about Crimson Peak, which is the houselands of Jessica Chastain and Tom Hiddleston. And it doesn't become a straight, like, scary movie. It's not at all scary, but it doesn't become, like, thrilling until the very ending of the film, and that's when it gets really awesome. But the film is a straight gothic romance, and it still really works. Tom Hiddleston, Mia Wasikowska are great together. Jessica Chastain, I think, steals the film. She is so fucking creepy in this movie. I'll make you some tea. Charlie Hunnam, Jim Beaver, yes, Uncle Bobby from Supernatural is great. The movie is beautiful. The cinematography is fantastic. The production is great. The costumes, the makeup, brilliant. Amazing cinematography. Just the whole world building of Crimson Peak looks gorgeous. It's a Guillermo del Toro movie, so every Guillermo del Toro movie, you know you're going to get something genuinely creepy and genuinely beautiful. And it's well directed, well constructed, well written, and it's just a great film. Very underrated film. I love it. Some people don't. I love it. Coming number 2 is Let the Right One In. Yes, Let the Right One In is a great foreign film, and yes, Let Me In is a pretty good remake. It is a good movie, I like it, but the original, you can't beat the original. You can't frickin' top the original. How it is directed is amazing. Just amazing. the writing, the romance. Again, it's a romance between a boy and a girl vampire. And this vampire has lived a very long life, and she's being taken care of an older gentleman who used to be a boy, because she used to be in love with him when he was a boy and stuff, and he's been taking care of her for all this time. But now she finds a new love interest and everything, but she has to feed. She is a vampire. And boy, this main boy doesn't know what to do with her. He doesn't know if he should, fall in love with her, or does he, kill her or turn her over and stuff, because he doesn't know if she's a monster or she's just a misunderstood person, and she has to feed. She is a vampire and stuff. So he doesn't know whether to take her. Is she good? Is she evil and everything? And yeah, the movie gets really dark. This is a very dark film, especially what happens at the ending with the bullies. Oh my god, the bullies in this movie, these are psychotic bullies. They're like the bullies from the movie It. They are crazy ass bullies, and I love this movie. I love the cinematography. I love the grittiness of this film. But the romance is genuine, and these two characters have genuine chemistry with each other. And it's an interesting story about a vampire, this young vampire who's lived this long life. She's falling in love with this boy and everything, and he wants to help her and everything. It's a fascinating story. I don't want to spoil too much, because I know not enough people have seen it, but it's a very good movie. The remake is good, but this is a genuinely great film, and absolutely love it. And my number one favorite romantic horror film is Only Lovers Left Alive. Yes, Only Lovers Left Alive. Great film. Another Tom Hiddleston. He loves to do the gothic romances. He's all about the weird and strange and kookiness. That's Tom Hiddleston. That's Loki for you. Anyways, I love this movie. This is my favorite Jim Jarmusch film, and I love Jim Jarmusch as a filmmaker and a director. I'll eventually do a ranking or a top 10 of his films, but yeah, I love his films. I love Coffee and Cigarettes. I love Broken Flowers, Ghost Dog. I love his films. This is his best movie, I think, and it's a pretty recent one. It only came out 3 or 4 years ago, and it's amazing. This is a vampire story. It's a romance between two vampires, Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton. And it's about their whole lives together, and the movie doesn't showcase their whole lives. It's mostly in our modern time, but they've been in love and married for so long. They're kind of separated because he lives in the United States and she lives in Europe and everything. And basically they join together and everything, and her sister comes back and almost ruins everything for them. And again, I won't spoil too much, but it's a character study between the romances of Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton, this husband and wife, and they're both vampires. And they're not evil vampires. They are actually pretty good vampires and everything, and I love it. This is a straight gothic romance. The whole movie feels very dark and very ominous and everything, like a vampire story should be. And it's one of my favorite vampire movies and one of my favorite gothic romances. I think it's the best romantic horror film I have seen. It is so good. And yes, it's not just a straight romance. There is some really creepy scenes, especially when Mia Wasikowska, yes, again, from Crimson Peak, when she comes in, it gets really weird and creepy. I love that John Hurt's in this movie. He's so great. Who's he? Oh my god, he plays, the guy with Shakespeare, Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe. He's great in this movie. The production's fantastic, cinematography's fantastic. It is a low-budget indie film, but it's still so good. Tom Hiddleston is fantastic in this movie. Same with Tilda Swinton, Mia Wasikowska, John Hurt, Anton Yelchin. It's so great. It's so creepy and unsettling and a great romance. Love it. So yeah, that was my list of my top 10 favorite romantic horror films in my opinion. So in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this top 10 list? If not, give me your top 10s. What are your top 10 favorite romantic horror movies in your opinion? Give me your list. Give me your lists. I'm curious to see them, and I'm curious to see what people think, what people classify as a romantic and a horror film together. So yeah, give me your thoughts and opinions, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like, subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.